The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Midweek Analysis.
Hey guys, this is a midweek analysis for August 25th of 2021. Okay, we'll start off with the pound dollar. This is the monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, the first thing I want to mention about this pair is that there's been a change in the long-term bias. Now, if you recall in past analysis, I was mentioning that there was a weak monthly double bottom right here. However, upon reanalysis of this double bottom, relative to how price moved up in these areas, I've come to the conclusion that this double bottom is neither a legitimate or a fake double bottom. Now, this is due to the aesthetics of this double bottom, in which this double bottom is slightly too small in comparison to its prior leg down right here. Alright, so for the time being, this monthly double bottom right here will not provide any long or short strength. Okay, let me just zoom back in here. Alright, so although this double bottom does not qualify aesthetically as a legitimate or fake double bottom, the long-term bias is still long. However, this long-term bias long is only up to this price level right here. Now, this price level is a horizontal trend line that's made from this pivot right here. Now, as you can see, this horizontal trend line has been tested 3 times at this point. So just 3 months ago on this third touch, it became legitimate. Now, due to the fact that price has a tendency to want to test strong levels at this level right here, and seeing how this level has just become legitimate in recent months, in the long term, I'm still long biased right back up to this horizontal trend line right here. However, on the weekly chart, since there's more short strength than long strength, in the short term, I'm short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the setup I've been looking at for the past couple of months. So there was a strong short trade that formed right here. Then a weak long trade formed. So as price pulled back, I was looking for short entries on the lower time frames, right back down to this pivot low as a target. And that target was hit right here. And furthermore, as price pulled back again, I was still looking for short entries on the lower time frames. However, at this point right here, if you recall, there was compact long price action that formed that shows strong long strength. So at this point, the weekly bias changed from short into long. So in other words, price was now likely to reach this pivot high up here, where the last weekly short trade was, before reaching this pivot low right here, where that compact long price action formed. So price came right back up and hit that target for that new bias at this level right here. Then simultaneously, there was a strong short trade that formed right here, and then a weak long trade formed right here. So as price pulled back in these areas, I was looking for short trades on lower time frames again, right back down to this pivot low as a target, and that target was hit right here. Then moreover, about a month ago, another weak long trade formed right here. So again, as price pulled back, I was looking for short entries, right back down to this pivot low as a target. Okay, so the current weekly bias is short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. Alright, so let me go ahead and explain to you the price elements that contributed to the strength short on this pivot right here. And moreover, the price elements that contributed to the long strength of this pivot right here. Okay, so let me just zoom out here. Okay, again, stay on this weekly chart. That short trade that formed was right here. And the long trade that formed was right here. And the bias is short. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. Now, the major elements that are providing short strength for this pivot right here is, first of all, this huge gap right here on this weekly chart. Now, this huge gap is made from many smaller gaps in the historical price data of this pair. So, for example, these gaps right here, there's a gap right here. There's another one right here. Now, all these small gaps in the historical price of this pair, when combined, create this huge gap, as you can see right here. Now, this is the most major price element that's providing short strength to this pivot right here. And moreover, on the long side, there's also a medium gap on this weekly chart also right here. Now, this gap is also created in the same manner. It's using smaller gaps in the historical price data of this pair. And when combined together, it makes a seamless medium gap at this level right here. Now this medium gap, as you can see, is roughly only a third of the size of the upper gap. So one way to measure the long strength of this medium gap right here is to think it only provides 1/3 of the strength that this huge gap up here provides short. So if you were just taking these two gaps as price elements to measure the bias, it's obvious that we should be short biased between these two pivots. However, simultaneously, there was a weak fake double top that formed right here, which actually provides long strength. However, even with this fake double top's long strength and this medium gap right here, in my opinion, there's still more strength short from this huge gap right here. Okay, so those are the major price elements that are providing the short bias between this high and this pivot low right here. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you what happened for the past couple of weeks in terms of entries on this pair. So let's go over to the daily chart. Okay, so again on this daily chart, that weekly bias was stating that price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high right here. Now as price pulled back, I was looking for short entries on this daily chart. However, there were no strong short trades that formed to create an opportunity for an entry short right back down to this weekly bias target right here. And throughout the month of August, price pretty much just fell all the way back down close to that weekly bias's main target right here. Now situations like this, when you know the bias is short and you also know the target, however there are no strong short signals for entries, price often forms interesting price action on the lower time frame. So let me go ahead and explain that to you on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so on this 4-hour chart, again, as price pulled back in these areas, I was looking for short trades on the daily chart. However, there were no strong short entry points on that daily chart. Now, oftentimes when you know the weekly bias is short and you also know the target, however, there are no strong short entry points, you could actually predict that happening on the lower time frame. So on this 4-hour chart, what happened was that there was a weak short trade that formed right here, then a strong long trade that formed with a stop loss at this pivot low right here. Now, although there was more long strength than short strength, price still came down to stop out that long trade stop loss right here. And furthermore, that happened again. Another weak short trade formed and a strong long trade formed. However, again, price still came back down to stop out that strong long trade stop loss level right here. So in other words, although there was strong long strength on each of these long trades right here, price still came down to stop out those stop losses, which actually shows strong short-term short strength. Or in other words, there's an unusual amount of short-term sellers in this market. Now on the lower time frames, when this type of price action forms, oftentimes on the higher time frames, for example the daily chart, there would be no clear points of entries where there's obviously more short strength than long strength, and thus there are no entry setups. Now moreover, another way you could look at this is that during the month of August, when trading volume is low, is exactly where this type of price action began to form in this month of August. Now that said, if I were to be trading aggressively, once I notice this type of price action forming on the 4-hour chart, I could begin taking short trades with a stop loss at the last week short trades pivot high right here, and more at this pivot high right here, targeting that weekly short bias's main target right down here, or simply taking targets from a timing perspective, where in this case, I'll be taking targets out as the month of September rolls in and the market volume regains its normality. So one thing to keep in mind is that when this type of price action forms, when even if there's more long strength than short strength, but price still pushes down, moreover it's a season where trading volume is low, can actually be a time to take a break from trading itself. Alright, so moreover in terms of entries, there's a couple more things I'm looking at, so let's go back to the daily chart. Okay, so on this daily chart, that weekly bias states that price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. So for the time being, as long as price does not reach this main target right here, if price gives a nice pullback and gives me a strong daily short trade, I'll be willing to take that short trade with a stop loss at that hypothetical short trade's pivot high stop loss level right here, and its main target at their weekly bias's main target right down here. And moreover, again, if price does not reach this main target and price pulls all the way back to this 1.4130 levels, giving me a good risk reward ratio for my stop loss will be at that weekly short trade stop loss level, then I'll be willing to take a short trade again with a stop loss at this pivot high right here and its main target being way down here. And last but not least, I'll always be watching for any compact long price action to form, which shows strong long strength, in which case if this does form, I'll be willing to change my weekly bias from short into long, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high right here before reaching the pivot low of this hypothetical compact long price action. Okay, all right, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.